your martial arts movie podcast.
I threw that shit before I walked in the room.
Featuring drunken Thai boxer Will.
Too bad you will die.
The also drunken wrestler Mark.
I said I don't want trouble.
And drunken karate master Zero.
You've lost your balls.
And now,
Call. I know Kung Fu.
You know, baby.
Fists of Fail. It's funny because we're at the store and we're picking out beers. I was kind of gravitated towards the malt liquor for some reason.
Yeah,
And
you
then-
already had picked it up, and you
Yeah.
kept on asking me, what do you want to drink?
Yeah, and I was like, I don't know why. I'm just gravitated towards this for some reason. And then you're like, well, it's appropriate for this episode. I was like, oh, that's right. It's like subliminal messaging, and it's even funnier because this has a snake on it. Mm-hmm. So, and you guys will clearly not understand what we're talking about unless you have watched the movie. And today's movie is
Black Dynamite.
Black Dynamite, my favorite Michael Jai White movie, and actually one of my favorite comedies.
It's pretty good. This is a rare movie where people tried to make kind of a so bad it's good movie. I mean, they're more making blaxploitation film,
Right.
But there are always lots of attempts for people to try and make like a throwback comedy, and it just fails miserably.
Right.
But so this is actually one that's pretty successful.
Yeah, exactly. You said it just now. It is a blaxploitation film, but it's more of a parody than. Well, okay, sorry. It is a parody, but that word is thrown around a lot when people talk about this movie and summarizing what it is. But I like to consider it more of an homage than a parody. I mean, it does satirize the movies that came out at the time, but I think there's enough in it that actually pays homage to what you'd see in the early 70s with black exploitation films. And I love this movie. I feel like every viewing that I've seen of it gets better. I will like it more as I watch it subsequently. And I'm glad we're talking about it today because I was so excited. This is the 10-year anniversary of the theatrical release, the limited theatrical release. I think it came out on DVD for earlier in the year, but it stayed in theaters for 2 weeks, and it just went away. And now it's become a cult film, and I'm a huge fan of this movie. But obviously, I'm just gushing here. Zero, what is your general take on this?
I saw this long time ago, when it first came out, and I generally enjoyed it. So I was curious to see if I would still like it. And yes, I generally like this film. It's pretty funny. I can nitpick, but we can get into that a little later. But yeah, overall, it's a pretty funny movie. I like that. While it is kind of a parody of blaxploitation films. According to my internet research, even though they're kind of making fun of the movies, they're making fun of things that were specifically happening in the films that the older filmmakers did as kind of mess ups, like the boom mics and whatnot.
Right.
So it's cool in that aspect that it pays homage in that way.
Right. Yeah. If you are a fan of movie making, you'll notice, or you're a fan of film history at all, you'll notice little inconsistencies there, and the majority of them are intentional. They're deliberately
In this
plant
movie,
them in the movie.
it's intentional. Yes.
Right.
In the older films, it is not. Obviously, it is not.
Right, and it's supposed to feel low budget, and for this movie, it has a supposedly $2.9 million budget, which is supposedly very low for a production.
It's pretty low. Yeah, it looks very good though, considering that this could have easily, you could have been taken out of it if you saw, I guess, modern cars, modern buildings, modern technology.
Right.
But they did a good job at filming in LA, I believe, and just keeping everything in that 70s look.
Yeah, and they utilize enough stock footage from what, like we have Charlie's Angels, Policewoman, Missing in Action. I didn't know about all these things until I did a little bit of research on it, and I noticed how different the film grain was. Yeah, it's very obvious. But in terms of the authenticity of the movie, it does feel like it fits perfectly in the 70s, especially with the film grain, because they did shoot this in 60 millimeter. So it does feel like it's just lifted straight out of the 70s, but also like the color correction kind of like it's inconsistent too, which I've noticed.
Well, you can, if you have a good eye, you can clearly see what is the footage that they use, the stock footage that they use, because it's a little more grainy,
Right.
it's a little more dirty. Sometimes the aspect ratio isn't right, but that's fine. It kind of just adds to the charm of the movie that things aren't consistent.
Man, I could gush all about this, but I would like to preface this by saying I did have a little bit of trouble categorizing this as a martial arts movie for the longest time, but the thing with blaxploitation films, especially after like midway through the blaxploitation period in the 70s, and I'm not the expert on this, but I know so much that like it was happening concurrently with the kung fu boom of the 70s, right? So there was kind of like a little bit of inbreeding with those two genres, and it's like
well, obviously when those films are coming out at the same time, you can see like how the filmmakers would be influenced by what is popular as well.
Right. So you have movies like once Enter the Dragon came out, you noticed there was a lot of like the black audience especially like really gravitated towards that movie, and like they really want martial arts, and they really were gravitated towards martial arts. So they implemented some of that into the blaxploitation genre. So we have Jim Kelly, for example.
Yeah, I was gonna say probably his inclusion in Enter the Dragon probably really helped add more kung fu / martial arts into their films.
Hey, like he was in Black Belt Jones. That was the title of the movie, and that's like a good indication of how they want to use that kind of action in blaxploitation. So I mean, that's the direction that blaxploitation eventually went. So you can almost consider those martial arts movies too. And Black Dynamite is kind of in the same vein as that era of blaxploitation movies. So it's not heavy on choreography.
Yeah. So I was gonna say when talking about the action of this movie, it would be a disservice to ever say that the choreography is like basic or it's not good, because there's obviously a lot of effort being put into it. I think what they were trying to do is they were trying to match the choreography of those older films, because this could have easily turned into like a modern day fight, and it shouldn't have done that, which it does not. Like it just matches that kind of old style of fighting on a beat, a little slower because maybe people aren't that trained, aren't that quick, and it's perfectly fine because it fits what they're trying to go for.
Yeah, well, we have Michael Jai White, who is an authentic Kyokushin karate master, black belt, and he's fucking fantastic on screen. So he hits the beats perfectly. And you're right, the choreography is simpler in terms of the way that they stage the action as well. It's not like they do elaborate flips and kicks, and like there's an action scene that will last 5 minutes long, like you would see in our other episodes. But it's nice and simple in the same vein of trying to again be authentic to blaxploitation films.
Yeah, it's replicating that style.
Yeah,
it doesn't need to be fancy or like over the top like modern movies, because then it probably would have taken you out of that.
Yeah. And like I can't help but feel like this is definitely trying. It's so hard to what's the phrase I'm looking for? Trying to appease older blaxploitation fans, people who are like dedicated, like are very interested in that kind of that kind of film. So I again, I could gush about this fucking forever, but we can definitely just move ahead and just talk about like what the movie's even about.
Sure,
right?
Sure. So this, I was kind of worried when we were going to talk about this, because we generally talk about action, so it's I don't want to say it's easier, but we can analyze fight, we can talk about the specifics of choreography, so on and so forth. I feel this is more of a comedy, So how do
It
we
is.
talk about a comedy without ruining the jokes for somebody?
Yeah, you really can't.
I feel like that's a little difficult because you want to talk about the jokes,
Mm-hmm.
but then does that mean you're spoiling it for people?
Well, yeah. Well, but based on our new format, we're gonna try to avoid spoilers because the plot is everywhere. So we won't get like it would be kind of a disservice to the listener to kind of jump all over the place and talk about that. But the jokes in this movie, they're all very fitting. They are all again, like they're playing with the fact that there are inconsistencies with the movie. They're all playing with the quirkiness of the characters and like how they're all supposedly bad actors or one way or another, right?
Well, it's funny that you mentioned that because the movie opens with three men who are supposedly getting drugs from a dealer, and the dealer reveals that one of them is not who he appears to be, and one of the actors who is accused begins speaking with like a quasi English British accent, and it's really funny because like they're pretty
I ain't
obvious.
no jive snitch. I
Right.
can't do a British accent. But
Exactly, I can't do a British accent either. But so the comedy is the obvious here. He's speaking in a British accent when he's supposed to be a guy from the streets. Sure, but the second layer here is that apparently a lot of blaxploitation actors had they had experience in like
theater training, right?
exactly like
Right.
Shakespearean plays, so they were well versed,
Mm-hmm.
and that's where that second layer of comedy comes from, which I didn't know. So
Yeah. Again, that's what I meant before by if you really have any sort of like understanding of like the film history of exploitation. Again, I'm not an expert, but like if you have any understanding, you probably find layers in this movie that like even you and I won't be able to cover.
Right. That was one thing that was unfortunate for me is I don't have really any familiarity with blaxploitation films, and I have a feeling that because Michael Jai White and the director are probably huge fans, there's probably things that they just put in there that that are specific to that film genre.
Right. So we have Michael Jai White playing the titular Black Dynamite. I see him as the Shaft of this movie. So he's basically Shaft, right? So he's he's badass. He lays women. He kills people. He's like an action superhero, basically.
Yeah, he's the like the infallible like action hero. Good at everything. There's no faults to him.
Right. So one thing that I like to talk about when it comes to like we're not talking. I don't want to talk about the theory of blaxploitation. I don't want to delve into that too much. But the whole idea was, in the early '70s, black people were still in the like very oppressed, very very oppressed state, right? So, when you go to the theaters, it's kind of like escapism, right? So you see an empowered black hero on screen. You kind of like put yourself in that person's shoes.
Yeah.
So Black Dynamite, it's such an interesting place for that character to be because he straddles the line of being that same kind of character, but being fucking ridiculous at the same time because he's ridiculous. Like a person like this cannot exist. Mm-hmm. And like we're not even talking about the cartoon that came out on Adult Swim, which is an even more exaggerated version of the character in this movie.
Yeah.
Which is like I think there was a scene in the cartoon where he swims and catches up to a shark and beats the shit out of it. Black Dynamite is fucking amazing because that character is just so fucking funny. But we also have like other interesting characters in this movie as well. We have Tommy Davidson playing Cream Corn and Byron Mins, who was also the writer for this movie, and I think it was a brainchild between him and Michael Jai White. I think it was originally from Michael Jai White, but Byron Mins came in and was put in his expertise in blaxploitation and trying to cobble this together and make it sure that's as authentic as possible. So I'm glad that like this came, the byproduct was as good as it is because I really feel like it doesn't stray away from like what you would actually see from the movies that they're trying to parody from.
Yeah.
But to answer your question, I don't know how we can talk about this without I don't know how we can talk about this without talking about the action. There is action, but it's not heavily emphasized, like you said.
Yes. I was looking at the fight scene still, and yeah, we can still talk about it. But like, how about we go into the general plot of the movie?
The general plot.
Yeah,
We're
the
not
general
diving
plot.
into
Yeah,
it.
we don't have to go deep dive.
Okay. So the story is about.
So back to where I started with the three men.
Okay.
One of them
Right.
is found out to not
Right.
be who he says he
Before
is.
I start geeking out about the movie. So he gets found out. He gets shot up by the man, whoever these people are.
Well, the henchman
Right.
of the drug dealer.
Right. He gets shot up. He's killed, and in a very dramatic scene, we see Black Dynamite is doing kung fu with with these random people. We'll talk about this in detail a little bit more. But then
Well-
he gets a phone call.
Well, even before that, it happens immediately afterwards. A police commissioner character
Oh, right.
reveals out loud, so the audience knows. Like, do you know who this is?
Yeah.
This is the brother of Black Dynamite.
I love the way I love his delivery and his
Mm-hmm.
lines because it's so on the nose. Like everything's just like, oh, do you know who this is? Oh man, the streets are gonna get flipped over. Like,
Yeah,
they're
yeah.
gonna be babies exploding.
Right. There's a danger with overacting because if you see movies that are trying to be so bad it's good, you can tell when somebody is like going too hard and they're overdoing it, and you kind of reel back from it.
Right.
This movie straddles that line. It never goes to a point where I pulled back, but it goes to that point where it's still funny that people are overacting, like this guy does in the beginning, and like many actors do later on.
Yeah. Well, he doesn't show up again in the movie. But
Yeah, I was surprised. That's it from him.
right. Yeah. Like even the tiny performances in the movie are just spot on. Like they overact. Later in the movie, I don't want to jump over too much, but later in the movie there is a doctor who wags his finger at Black Dynamite, like, Black Dynamite, I am so ashamed of you. Like like his dialogue his delivery is just like that, but it's
Yeah.
perfect. It's deliberate. But it's funny.
Right.
Yeah. So like to continue what you're saying, like the commissioner gives the line, and then we are introduced to Black Dynamite humping the screen. He's humping the camera
In like a POV type of shot.
right, and apparently that's some sort of homage to like Dynamite.
Yeah, I read that.
Right,
I haven't
again,
seen Dynamite, unfortunately.
We're gonna watch the Eddie Murphy tribute movie or parody movie, but in terms of the actual films, I have no clue. Like that goes over my head as well. So yeah, like he's fucking the camera. And then he's like, oh, like, don't wake up all the bitches. And it turns out like there's like 7 of them in the bed. Little things like that add to his character. You establish who he is. And I love Michael Jai White's performance in this movie because nothing against him, nothing against Michael Jai White. You're an amazing on-screen martial artist, and he's very menacing, because he has such a big build. But this is the first movie where I feel like he has more than one emotion.
Okay.
Do you see what I mean when I say that?
Yeah, I mean, when you're in the martial arts career, you're probably typecasted as like, oh, martial arts, like, and then I feel like it's martial arts first, acting second.
Okay, yeah, a little bit of that.
So like, I know what you mean. Like, I can't say I've seen Michael Jai White movies and then noticed his acting per se. It was more, yeah, he's an impressive martial artist.
Yeah.
So yeah, nothing against him, but actually, now that you mention it, yes, like he's definitely a character in this movie, which is great. It just shows what he's capable of.
Yeah. I mean, have you seen Spawn?
Yeah, I liked Spawn when I first saw it.
Oh man,
I'm afraid to rewatch it because it probably doesn't hold up. I remember him doing, even before Christian Bale, like doing that kind of scraggly voice.
Oh, yeah,
like,
that's right.
I'm pretty sure he does that in that movie as well.
See, like I'm probably in the same vein as you. Like I haven't seen that movie in a while, and all I remember is the CGI. Like I don't remember his performance at all, and I think the CGI just takes me out of the movie. But like to go off of what I said before and what we were just talking about, right. Like he's a great on-screen martial artist. But what I actually mean is the roles that he's given, even in Triple Threat and Undisputed and Blood and Bone, his character's kind of the same. He's just like a gritty, he's like gruff martial arts guy who can't get beaten
He's
down.
like a no-nonsense, badass kind of guy.
Yeah.
And that's like the extent of his character.
Yeah,
At least
which is
from the film.
unfortunate.
Yeah, like we saw Triple Threat. I don't know his character. He's bad guy.
He's not
big,
trustworthy.
Yeah, he's
he doesn't
big
trust
bad guy.
people. Yeah, and that's actually what I liked about this movie, because you can see that he has comedic chops to him. His delivery is very deadpan, but very funny. Because this was his passion project, right? This was his baby. Like, he thought of it when he was in the process of doing Undisputed 2, and he was just like, oh, I fucking want to do a movie like this. And you can see it on screen. Like, he's really into the role. But yeah, like, so we have him in the role, and he is no nonsense, but like he's given comedic lines in the way that like you would see in like Airplane or like Naked Gun. Like, these lines are very silly, but he's delivering them so straight that like he's not I guess he is kind of winking to the audience, but
Well, I think that's where a lot of the comedy comes from, is the fact that he's playing it completely straight, but what he's saying is very ridiculous or very it's just silly.
Right, exactly. Man, so I keep on like stopping us from continuing the plot. So now that Black Dynamite's done humping the camera, we are now at the scene where he's fighting a bunch of people in his own apartment.
In his, I guess, his personal dojo.
Yeah,
And this is technically the first fight scene.
right.
Yeah.
And even this is funny.
Yeah. Well, they do it right. They played for comedy.
Yeah.
And I guess one thing I noticed is that Black Dynamite is kind of like an 80s slasher movie killer.
What do you mean?
In that he's able to use the camera frame to hide and then reappear conveniently, and then kill somebody.
Yeah. It's funny because you see he's basically beating up a bunch of his sparring partners. It's just one against many. And you see this one guy, he's like so scared because he's like, oh, I just see all my comrades getting beaten down in front of me.
And the camera is actually focused on him.
Yeah, it's focused on him, and you just see people flying around him. And he's seeing people flying from camera right over to the left. So you think if he runs to the left, he'll be safe. But no, Black Dynamite's right there.
Yeah. And it's funny because what happens is, so he's like, okay, he's on the left side now. If I go right, I'll be fine. Yeah. But what happens is you can see the shadow of Michael Jai White run around the camera. It's obviously intentional. It's very intentional, but it's funny.
Good. Yeah,
it's pretty funny.
Even the you said it before. The action's very simple. It's not supposed to be like crazy flips and stuff. But who are the choreographers? We have Ron Yuan and Roger Yuan, apparently. Based off of the IMDb billings, but so like I bet they, even if they wanted to make something elaborate, like they knew that in terms of keeping it constrained to what blaxploitation films of the 70s were like, we want to make it impactful, but we also want to keep it simple. Yeah. So that fits Michael Jai White's style of fighting on screen anyway. So good for him. So the scene kind of just ends with him beating down all these people, and he rushes over to a bunch of bricks. He's about to destroy them. And I love this because he gets a phone call from his aunt, Billy. And he's like, his fucking delivery for this line was perfect. He's like, who here dares interrupt my kung fu? But the way he says kung fu is so fucking strange. He's like, how does he say it? He's like, don't interrupt my kung fu or something like that.
I don't even recall that.
He says that, and then he gets a phone call, and his aunt, like the performance from the actress saying the line is like, hey, your brother's dead. Yeah. Like, everything is just so overdramatic.
It was almost like she was reading her lines off of a card, but then also reading the stage direction. Your brother's dead. Cry, and it's almost like that was happening in a few scenes. And I think that did happen a few times where actors read their stage direction.
Yeah.
In
Oh, you
addition
think?
to that, I thought I read that. I could be wrong.
No, yeah, like if you noticed it on screen, like point it out because I can't imagine that not being true.
Yeah,
Like, I'm
it's
sure that
probably intentional.
Yeah, of course.
But so what happens now is he finds out that his brother is dead.
Right, the British brother.
You know what? I felt like this was a missed opportunity.
For what?
For more comedy. So what happens is in the beginning you find out the brother is speaking with a British accent before he gets killed.
Mm-hmm.
I thought there would have been like a comedic moment where they tried to I guess close up this plot hole that Black Dynamite is speaking with American accent, but his brother is speaking with a British accent. No, they never get to it. Like, I thought there would have been a great moment there because there is a very funny flashback where they have to explain to the audience because you're not going to get it. It cuts to two younger actors, and the actors verbally say like, what do you say? He's like, I'm 18-year-old Black Dynamite speaking to like my 16-year-old younger brother. Like they have to verbally tell us this because you would never know.
Of course you wouldn't because that's not how flashbacks work, right?
Exactly, yeah.
It's so fucking stupid, and that's sums up all the comedy in this movie. It's so stupid, but it's so good. Yeah, you're right. Like that did make me fucking like fall off my seat laughing. Actually, like he's delivering the lines like he's not only does he say that, he's like I'm 18-year-old and you're a 16-year-old brother and you're high as a kite.
Yeah, like they have to like really really hammer you over the head with what's going on here.
Yeah, and then they go to they're at the funeral, and then the aunt is there just to berate him again with the same thing.
So one of the things actually I wanted to kind of mention too is like the music in this movie is actually really good. I didn't really think about it the first time, but like when you hear it when his theme kicks in like that dynamite, it's really memorable as simple as it is.
Yeah. No, like, I know, like I guess they're trying to like pay homage to like the Shaft theme. Like that's the idea that I got. Like the when you think of the Shaft theme, like you immediately get like the image of like Shaft being a bad motherfucker, and like obviously this movie overdoes it on purpose because like anytime there's like a pun or there's like an action scene happening, or even when Black Dynamite just appears on screen, it's like boom, there's the music.
That theme song kicks in. Yeah. But what I wanted to mention is I didn't notice it before, but when they're at the funeral, the music that is playing. The singer of the music is saying, I think he's saying something along the lines of, "Oh, your brother's dead," and he's kind of like also narrating exactly what's happening, like to an extent, not fully.
Right.
But I didn't notice it before, and I thought that was like a funny little like moment.
So I don't remember the one who did the original that does that Black Dynamite theme, like the one goes Black Dynamite, Dynamite. Yeah. But the score in general was done by Adrian Young. I'm not sure if I'm pronounced that correctly, but and I think I'm gonna give him a lot of props. I don't really like to talk about score too much, but in terms of again, and you can probably make a drinking game out of the amount of times I say the word authentic or authenticity, but it adds to the authenticity of the movie because it like a lot of it feels like something you would hear from a 70s film.
Yeah.
Because you can synthesize the music however you want and try to match it, but it doesn't work unless you're using the instruments from the 70s. And I think that was deliberate. They try to make it as realistic as possible. So again, fucking everything about this movie works for me on every level when it comes to like paying homage while still being a parody.
Yes.
Yeah. So again, geeked out a little bit too much.
Yeah.
Moving a little forward.
Right. So the plot now is, yes, he is aware his brother was killed, and now, he's on a mission. He's trying to find his brother's killer, and that's kind of like the main plot. It does deviate a lot from that a little bit.
Right.
And I'm not trying to be negative, but just like for me, some of the plot points is where it was kind of not working for me. For instance, what was happening now is, so he realizes his brother was killed. There is evidence that is potentially pointing him to like a new lead. I didn't like how this was handled because it was like, hey, I need to go to this person. Let's introduce this character. Oh, I'm giving you a little bit of information. Okay, now let's go to this person. And then it kind of goes along that same track. Like, we introduce a new character. He gets a little more information.
Yeah.
Then we go to the next character. Like, it was a little stilted for me.
Yeah, you know what? You're not wrong about that. I actually did feel that same way when I rewatched it, and I've seen this several times. So yeah, I did notice that the plot takes a while to get back on track with the whole brother aspect, and actually I think that kind of gets dismissed later on because So again, we're not trying to go too deep into the plot, but what we can say is that one plot point eventually it kind of just ends. And then it kind of leads into another plot point, and then that leads to another plot point, and then it starts off with him trying to figure out what happened to his brother, and then it turns into like him taking drugs off the streets, and then him going into finding out who is causing the drugs, and like such and such.
It was almost like we're at point A. It's like A to B, B to C.
Yeah.
Like you can kind of feel that, and like that was taking me out of it a little bit. Like I wish they were able to write it a little more organically, so it wasn't, this is the scene where we meet this character.
Yeah.
This is the scene where we meet this character. And because it kind of felt like that, because each new scene actually introduced new characters.
Right.
Like I wish they did it a little differently. It's fine though. Like, but I felt that in the pacing.
Right. Again, you're not wrong about that. We are introduced to a lot of characters in this movie. A lot of small ones. Obviously, you don't have to worry about those. But enough supporting characters that can kind of muddle down the story. But not. I'm also trying not to be negative about that because it kind of adds to the experience for me because we have a cartoon right after this, and I've seen most of the first season and a little bit of the second one, and it doesn't follow the same continuity, but because we've established the characters in the movie, it kind of lends itself to like having fully fleshed out roles or characters in the show. So like we have characters like Cream Corn played by Tommy Davidson, and we even have Byron Mins, who is the writer, as Bullhorn.
Man, that guy's got a great voice. Extremely distinctive voice.
Yeah.
Once you hear him, you know who Bullhorn is.
Did you know, after watching this several times, I didn't know what this character's gimmick was until... So his gimmick is that he rhymes. I've seen this movie like
What?
a million times and I never picked up on
There's
that.
always like that character who, spouts rhymes. Like I feel like that's such a staple.
I know. I don't know how I didn't pick up on that. I was like,
okay.
oh, he's not rhyming. No, I finally picked up on, oh, he rhymes. Is that why they stopped talking in one certain scene? They're just like so fed up with his character. So we have a lot of little characters in the movie, and they all, they have their little establishing scenes as well. Like, but there's also like, going off what you said before, there's a scene later on where we get introduced to the pimps. And this scene is completely useless.
Oh man, that I felt like a huge lull in that scene because I understand what they were doing, because I think what happened is Arsenio Hall took on a small role to be in that scene, and I think it was like, well, we're just gonna show like him or maybe any other famous people who are in that scene and let them talk, and it'll be funny.
Right.
But I don't know. Pimp politics isn't exactly that interesting to me, so the scene kind of drags.
Right.
It drags a little too much. Like I wish they cut the fat on that a little bit, and I don't even remember how it ties into the story, but it doesn't really matter so much.
Right. No, you're right. Okay. In the scheme of things, it doesn't tie into a story, and I can understand why they put this in there. And this is more of me approaching it from more of a more pedantic point of view, because I'm just like you. I don't have as much exposure of blaxploitation as one of our listeners might be, or anyone who grew up actually in the 70s. But like pimp culture was a thing, in the 70s. Like that was something that you also see in blaxploitation films. Like the main character might even be associated with pimp culture. So an entire plot point might be revolving around that. But for the sake of this movie, they need to put that in there because it was part of blaxploitation genre. So why not put that in there? Like if you imagine watching a kung fu movie where like in the early '80s, late '70s, and there was no mention of Shaolin.
Okay, yeah, I see what you mean.
That.
Yeah,
it's a staple.
It's a staple. Yeah. I wish, and like I mentioned similarly before, I wish it was written a little more organically into the plot because it, as I said, it feels like, hey, next scene, new characters.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, I just the scene didn't really do anything for me.
Yeah, you're right though. It doesn't advance the plot at all. And not like plot is the biggest thing about this movie. It's all about the comedy, in my opinion. But yeah, like it does slow, in my opinion, in this particular scene. And the whole purpose of this is just to establish that they're not. I wouldn't say that they're the bad guys, but they're all kind of subservient to Black Dynamite because they're the ones who are the drug pushers. Mm-hmm. So Black Dynamite shows up and he says, "Don't be doing that."
Yeah,
and they just don't. Because they just know that Black Dynamite is that influential and that threatening that they cannot sell,
right?
Which is kind of unheard of. Like pimps are supposed to be very threatening. They own the streets, so why would they listen to this one person? But they do,
yeah,
because
really
Black Dynamite's just that intimidating. I kind of like that about the character. He's supposed to be so mythologized and so powerful. And so unstoppable.
Well, it definitely shows because up until that point, we get it. Like we've seen a lot of Black Dynamite already. We know that when he visits those pimps, that they're he doesn't control them, but they respect him at least.
Right. Well, he doesn't show up for a solid 6 minutes into the scene.
Yeah, it's a long time.
Yeah, it would be fine if there were more jokes in that particular scene, right?
I feel like
you think so?
I feel like there are, but they're probably maybe they're just going over my head.
You think so?
Or they're too specific to, like I mentioned, the pimp politics that I'm like, oh, okay, I don't know. It didn't do anything for me.
Yeah, no, I'm on the same boat with you when it comes to that. So like everything else, where were we before we started talking about the pimp?
Right.
The pimps.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, so the general plot is that.
He tries to find out what happened to his brother, and then that escalates to him trying to get. He's trying to get off the streets.
He's trying to get drugs off the streets because he meets a nice lady.
Right. Who's involved? I guess she's like analogous to like a Black Panther, like Black Power movement.
Yes.
Like a leader. I fucking love this because did you notice that when they're on the streets, like when the streets are like supposedly really like bad, you have. They're on their way to the orphanage, and you see the streets. They're like all dilapidated and run down. It's the slums.
Yeah,
it's a city street. But then after the plot point happens where
he cleans it up.
It turns into the suburbs.
Oh yeah.
It's so fucking stupid.
Well, it's the only way they could have showed that, because they can't refilm on these cleaned up streets.
No, but that's the thing. I think that was deliberate.
No. I'm pretty sure it's deliberate too.
No, in that sense, I mean, like they don't want to like repackage the set and make it clean again. Like they're deliberately the filmmakers of this movie were deliberately making the choice to make it seem like, oh, we can turn any city street into the suburbs to make it look 1,000 times cleaner. So we have the female lead character here who was the aforementioned Black Panther-ish style leader from the previous scene we were just talking about.
Well, she wasn't the leader of the Black Panthers. There is actually a technical leader.
Right.
Later. I think she just had an association with them. Mm-hmm.
She's like
her main role is actually running an orphanage, which triggers Black Dynamite because we get in a flashback that he is an orphan.
I love the way he delivers that too, and he was like, "Oh, there even smells." Like he seems like kind of distance himself, kind of removed from the whole situation, and they're selling smack to the to the community. But then as soon as she says like, oh, they're even selling smack to the orphans, and like the Michael Jai White's delivery on the not the orphans,
Yeah.
it's so fucking good.
Yeah, I hate to use triggered in a comedy sense, but it literally does trigger him like PTSD.
Yeah, I love it because he's like, not the orphans. I was an orphan. And then you get a flashback of him in the in I guess like his orphanage, and the other kids are like, you're an orphan, but he's at an orphanage.
Well,
the other kids are also orphans.
Yeah,
it's so fucking stupid.
Yeah.
Like little things like that. Like,
was it pot calling the kettle?
yeah, basically.
Yeah.
Little things like that add up to like the dumbness of this movie.
Right.
But
right.
it's so deliberate and funny. He obviously kicks him out of the window. Like, it's great because you get to see kids get beat up in the movie too. Yeah, so he gets involved with that plot point as well, and that evolves into I guess. How does that lead up to the drug thing? So they take down Mike Starr's in the movie as well, in a really tiny role as well. I like this because Mike Starr, for you guys who don't know, who's in Ed Wood, one of my favorite movies of all time, and he's done a lot of like little tiny roles here and there, but he's in this movie as well. And it's kind of weird because I feel like there's probably more scenes with him in it.
You'll have to remind me who his character is.
He is I was gonna say the white guy, but he is the white guy. He's one of the drug pushers.
Okay.
And like Black Dynamite brings down in a kind of montage-esque sequence where he has a magnet like underneath the helicopter.
I remember who this guy is. It's weird because I guess one of the other things that I wasn't crazy about is like I didn't understand exactly who the villain was in this movie.
Well, it develops, right?
Yeah. It's one of those things where it's like you get a sense of who the villain is, and like I mentioned before, you keep on getting introduced to these characters. This guy who you're talking about, Mike
Starr. Yeah.
Mike Starr, like I thought he was going to be the main bad, but then he gets killed in a montage.
Yeah.
Which is a little strange because at that point I'm like, well, what's going on now? Like, who's the antagonist? Right. I mean, they resolve that, but it was such a strange thing to do, to kill somebody off in a montage when you think that they're the villain. Right.
Well, yeah, he wasn't the villain. He was supposedly he's just a small role in the entire movie. But like that's what I'm trying to say before. Like, it seems like he has they probably have more scenes with him actually in the movie, and they probably just cut it down for time. That's my impression of it. And the way that he dies is that Black Dynamite lowers some magnet and pulls his car off the road and just drops him. But they use the same exact footage from earlier in the movie.
Yes. I'm a big fan of reusing footage in movies.
Again, so that's the thing about this movie. So it is limited by itself by a $2.9 million budget. So, but at the same time, it is paying homage to the low-budget blaxploitation movies at the same time. So it is trying to mimic the movies while still have the same problem that it's experiencing itself. Like, they also have to try to match, like the low-budget feel of the original movies. Yeah. So that's something that like I appreciate about this movie. Is like they still capture it.
It works perfectly fine.
Yeah. And. We say that footage was reused because in an earlier scene, Black Dynamite chases down some guy named Cream Corn, played by Tommy Davidson, and then he gets fed wrong information, and he ends up at a pool hall. And,
good segue, because I did want to talk about this because it is actually a fight. It is actually a fight scene.
Yeah, it's brief. And it's
very brief.
Still funny.
Yeah.
Little bits of comedy in there.
Right. So I want to say, I started to notice this a little bit. There is what I'm calling the intimidation kick. I don't know if Bruce Lee is the first one to do this.
I was just going to say
from Way of the Dragon, when he kicks the ceiling light.
Yeah.
But Black Dynamite does it as well here with the pool hall lights. And it looks great with the sparks flying everywhere. I think Tony Jaa put the nail in the coffin though in Tom Yong-gun by kicking the fucking lamppost light. Like I don't think anyone's gonna top that.
Yeah, he does a flip at the same time too. Right?
Yeah, that's crazy. But I love that little shot of Black Dynamite kicking the light and then starting the fight.
Yep.
And one of the things I wanted to point out in this fight scene is that we also get Michael Jai White using nunchucks.
Oh man, okay. I want to see where you're gonna go with this because I want to know if you're gonna go in the same direction. As me.
Probably. So I'm not sure if this was intentional. So Michael Jai White is using nunchucks. He's doing some movements with it. He looks like he's a little afraid of hitting himself because if you look at his eyes, he looks really, really serious, and he looks like he's not trying to break concentration. I'm not sure if that was intentional or not.
Okay.
But he does some silly moves where he like kind of wraps it around his foot, and there's
He kicks it. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
So there's a great moment where it had to be intentional because he fucks up the choreography, and the nunchucks go flying off screen, but then conveniently they fly back into his hand later. I never noticed it before, but it's so nicely done because it's still all in the one shot. It's very brief, but I was like, wow. That's great. That's really, really good.
Yeah, I think not that I interpreted it differently, but I saw it differently. I saw it as him. He's flailing it around like intimidating the opponents. It's like, I'm fucking Bruce Lee right now. I'm flailing these nunchucks around, and then he's just like wah 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 wah, and then he just throws it aside as in, like I don't fucking need these anymore.
Oh, you saw it like that?
That's the way I interpreted that.
I interpreted it as he messed up, and then somebody off camera had to give him the pair back.
That's the equivalent of like you wielding a gun. And it's like, wow, look what I can do. I can spin it around, and then you just end up punching the person. That's the comedy that I got out of that scene. And like it's funny because it still straddles the line between like comedy and still seeing what Michael Jai White can do physically, because he can still deliver kicks, he can still deliver the punches. Like the sound editing is kind of what like throws you off because it makes it seem a little goofier by today's standards, but it makes it seem more deliberately cheesy than it actually is. Because like if you took that out, like you're actually just seeing Michael Jai White launch himself like 4 feet off the ground and like doing a kick and punch at the same time, and delivering that kind of action that you might see in his other movies, but it's played for laughs. So it's a good scene, and a lot of the action scenes involving fighting are kind of in that vein. Like it's just a good balance of action and comedy.
I do have a slight critique on one of the comedy moments though.
Sure. What?
So there's a moment at the end where Bullhorn comes in. And I see what they're doing here. So what happens is like he begins to fight one guy, and what they're showing you is him accidentally, quote unquote, slapping the guy.
Yeah.
And the actor says like
what the fuck?
Yeah. But then it cuts, and then it shows you the actual like footage. Like I forgot about this moment, and I got a little confused because I was like, wait, what happened? I wish what happened is, when they fucked up, like I wish the boom mic fell. I wish like maybe like AD walked into the screen to like like I wish they broke
the fourth wall.
Exactly. Yeah. I wish they did a little more because I got a little confused. But then I realized, okay, they were making a joke.
Right. I mean, yeah, like that's. I think that would have been a little bit more on the nose, but I know what you mean. Like they stopped the music though, so I think that for me was what like drew me out of the movie deliberately. Because again, this movie is trying to be a parody, so it's trying to, it knows when to make it feel like yes, it's self-aware. So like any quote unquote mistakes in it are supposed to be deliberate. So like things like that, like if they had like the the production designer like appear on screen, like that would have taken you too far out. But like there's just enough that like if you are keen on it, you will pick up on it. Like so the music stops, for example, like so that that like, oh, now we're in that part of the movie where like the movie the actors, quote unquote actors in the movie are fed up with like the production.
Well, he got hit.
And then did you notice, maybe this is me like being like not too accurate with the movie, but I think it was a completely different actor when they cut they did the cut.
Oh, really?
I think so. Like he did the slap, and then like they did the cut. They're like,
they do the frame cuts. Yeah.
And then I think it was a different actor.
I didn't really look at that. You could be right. I don't know.
Yeah, or we could just be racist. Okay. Do you think we should just say spoiler section now?
I don't know. Do you want to do
What
it
do you,
like
what do you
that?
think we should do? Because like now the rest of this is kind of spoilers. Mm-hmm. This is tough.
Yeah, because if we are going to talk about Dr. Wu, it's gonna come out of nowhere. Do we want to just talk about
the movie? Kind of takes it out of nowhere.
Well, there is a very funny moment where they play the logic game all wrong, where they start connecting the dots, but they do it in such a roundabout way.
This is where my whole Anaconda malt liquor. Well, I guess that's kind of a spoiler, but whatever.
Yeah,
that's where my malt liquor reference comes in. But yeah, continue.
Right. So like, I wouldn't want to talk about that because it's such a great moment that's played for stupidity. But if you listen to what they're saying, it actually kind of works.
It's like if you've seen what's that movie? Independence Day, when Jeff Goldblum will piece things together with some sort of trigger word. Like some word will just like be like, Klondike. Klondike is made in the Alps. Alps are like where polar bears. Polar bears hibernate, and and then hibernation is a thing that like sleep. Sleep.
Right,
Sleep
right.
is we do 12 hours. 12 is this magic number. Like that's basically where this scene.
Yeah,
goes.
he's making connections that don't really connect correctly, and it's a great moment. I wouldn't want to spoil that because when it comes, you see it coming, and you're like, where is this fucking coming?
Yeah, you were talking about this to me before we decided to do this episode, that this was probably your favorite moment or your most memorable moment.
It's definitely the most memorable moment for me in the movie because I feel like they start speaking to like background actors at this point too. Like, oh yeah, sure, here, add your input here. It's very, very silly.
Yeah, even little tiny jokes in the movie. Like there's this one recurring character. Earlier in the movie, he's like trying to do some sort of chicken and chili and donuts combination.
Do you know where this is from?
No. What do you mean?
Okay. So yes, so there is a restaurant called Chili and Donuts, and the owner is frustrated that his two food combinations is not working, chili and donuts. And what it reveals later on in this scene is that what does the kitchen have left? And the waitress reveals like all we have is chicken and waffles. And if you were paying attention to the owner's name, his name is Roscoe. Roscoe's Chicken and Waffles is a very famous eatery. I think it's in LA. So they were trying to say like, oh, this is the origin of that place.
Right. I got the second half of that. I didn't know Roscoe's was even a restaurant. I didn't know about that. But you go to LA all the time, so yeah. Like little things like that, like little tiny little jokes in the movie. The earlier scene that he appears in the movie was this little shootout in front of his restaurant, and like Dynamite's like see some sort of mascot in this giant cheese wheel costume.
It's not the best costume because it's supposed to be a donut.
Oh, is it? I thought it was a cheese wheel.
That's why he was Roscoe's Chili and Donuts. I didn't. Yeah, they kind of messed up in that aspect. So yes, there is a man in a mascot.
Is a round
costume.
Round costume.
It's literally a cheese wheel, but it's supposed to be a powdered donut. It doesn't.
Oh, okay.
It doesn't come across as that. It only helps that the owner says like, "Oh, I'm
chili donuts."
Yeah, exactly. So
right.
They kind of messed up in that aspect, but it's okay.
No, well, I thought that was hilarious because Black Dynamite shoots him up, and then the female lead is like, "Why'd you do that?" It's like, because donuts don't wear alligator shoes.
I'm
Such a
pretty
dumb
sure
line.
that's a reference to something that I'm just not getting.
Maybe, but I think it's just because they're like, oh wow, because that's obviously deductive reasoning. But it's just because the movie's so self-aware and so stupid. I think that's all it is. And I love the way that the donut falls. It falls like a coin would.
Yeah. Well, if you notice, there's supposed to be a man in a mascot costume. At that one moment when the donut falls, there's no one in there. You see like the prosthetic hand sticking out, and then suddenly this, I don't know what, it's like an old-fashioned machine gun.
Right.
Is suddenly in his possession.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, so like moving forward, are we at the point where we can talk about Roger Yuan's entrance in the movie?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure. So, it's weird. Like the movie kind of, I don't want to ruin.
It pivots.
Yeah, it pivots pretty hard, and I don't want to ruin why it pivots. But I think we could talk about the fact that a new villain is introduced. He's a little bit one-off, but what ends up happening is Black Dynamite and friends need to go to Kung Fu Island now. Great name for an island. It's very, very short, but they go to Kung Fu Island to fight the evil Dr. Wu.
Yeah, the fiendish Doctor.
Fiender,
Yeah.
excuse me, yes.
Yeah, Roger Yuan has done a lot of little tiny roles here and there, and I'm glad that he was in this movie too, because like he adds to the comedic value of this this entire film. Because he's supposed to be, I guess he's supposed to be some sort of like Fu Manchu style.
Oh yeah, most definitely.
Yeah, because he has the beard and everything. And he's like this Fu Manchu style, like grandmaster fighter. He's supposed to be very threatening, and I think this is the most choreography that we get out of this entire film. Do you think? Because like this is the only time where Black Dynamite fights other supposed martial artists in the movie.
Okay.
In the
Yeah,
movie.
yeah. I'll give you that. Yeah, you're right. I'm trying to think of the last fight, but
Right.
that isn't as choreographed as this one.
Right. So, see, that's the thing. This is something that I can't. This is something that we normally complain about when it comes to action movies. It's too dark. But the thing about this movie is it's deliberate. So what happens in the fight between him and and Roger Yuan is they're basically like doing these elaborate choreography things in this fight scene, but it's a little like the scene is lit really dark and such. But
Well, what's his name? Oh, Roger Yuan. He's wearing a black gi.
Yeah.
I think.
and Black Dynamite's wearing all black.
He's wearing black fatigues. Yeah, like
Yeah.
when you have black on film, there's the danger of it. Things are getting lost.
Right.
And the background is like black boxes or like poorly lit boxes.
Yep.
So, yeah, you can see how things might be a little visually hard to notice.
Right. There's no contrast. I guess is the
Yeah.
best way to describe it. But like that's again, I'm sure that's deliberate. Right. I'm sure they weren't like, oh, let's make this as visually appealing as possible. They're like, no, let's keep it as like a 1-to-1 is what you would see in a blaxploitation film. Like let's keep the action kind of good, but like let's also kind of muddle it a little bit to kind of keep it as authentic as possible. That's kind of why like you still appreciate it because you're like, okay, there's action and they're putting their heart and effort into it, so whatever, still good. But yeah, like obviously we jumped the gun a little bit when it comes to the actual action with the scene, everything leading up to it, and again trying not to spoil the movie, but some characters meet their demise.
Right.
And some of the delivery on these lines are so fucking good. Like, obviously, there are a lot of in-jokes here. You might even hear it in our intro for our show.
Ah, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like we have that. And I, again, without going into specifics, my favorite line from the entire movie is Michael Jai White saying, "Who saw where they come from?" Who saw
Him intentionally flubbing a line. Yeah. Well, and I think I've mentioned this in the Eastern Condors episode. If you're in a war film, never pull out a photo. Never give your backstory. You're just asking for it. You're
Right.
Just asking for your demise.
Yeah, one character has this recurring theme in the movie where he will read out the supposed emotion Like he's like sarcastically, I agree.
Oh, I didn't notice that.
Or he'll say something like, yeah, like I can't wait to quit the revolution, start a family, shows picture. Like little things like that.
Oh man, I didn't notice
You
that.
didn't pick up on
no,
that?
I didn't pick up on that.
That's what I'm
yeah.
saying. Like you have to watch this movie several
Right,
times.
right,
Like,
yeah. Now that I know that, I'll have to look out for it.
I think this is one of those movies that with every subsequent viewing, you will pick up on something you didn't watch the last time. That's why I fucking love this movie, and that's why I'm geeking out on it so much. So yeah, like he fights the fiendish Dr. Wu, and
Using his what does he say? Like his Black Panther Fist of the Black Panther or something like that.
Black Panther Tiger Fist or something like that.
Yeah, something along those lines.
Something like that. And they get in this little small fight. Fiendish Dr. Wu doesn't hold a candle to him. So I like that Dr. Wu like throws like this shuriken or whatever off screen, and
it's a boomerang, yes.
And it comes back and like
it's a bladed boomerang.
Right, but like the production value of it's so bad in that particular scene because like Dr. Wu, Roger Wan just like throws it towards the camera, and then you just see like Michael Jai White just duck. It just looks like some guy off screen just like kind of flailed it at him.
Yeah.
So Roger Wan, he gets defeated. Again, won't get into the specifics of it. And Michael Jai White discovers the documents of who's behind everything, and responsible for the smack, responsible for man, this is a huge spoiler if we get into it. But let's just say that there is the malt liquor in this movie that they advertise does something to the black community, and I don't know how to talk about this without spoiling it.
Yeah, I don't think we should get too into it because it is a really funny moment. And
Yeah.
it is a spoiler. So yes,
Yeah.
The drink that has been given to the black community is doing a disservice to them, for lack of better words.
Yeah. So what ends up happening is like Michael Jai White discovers who is responsible for all this, and he goes to that person, and by himself, by the way. And this becomes a final battle between. First he takes out all the security guards. Let's call them as security guards. I guess you can call this kind of a traditional one-on-many style martial arts fight. Michael Jai White's kind of like the Bruce Lee of this scene. He's taking on many in the style that you would see in like Enter the Dragon, and then he even has time to change clothes, which is like,
Of course.
like to establish that he's just a bad motherfucker. And then he fights the final villain, and the reveal of who it is. Again, try not to be spoiler heavy, but I think it's so appropriate for this movie.
Oh yeah. Well, we intentionally left out information because as silly as it is that they come to this conclusion of what's going on with the community and how they are being quote unquote like kind of poisoned.
Yep.
When it reveals who the villain is, like it works because you'll just have to watch it.
Right. Exactly. And I think it adds to it. Given, if you were to think about 1970s Black America and who a potential villain of a movie would be, this is probably the most fitting character that you can probably put as the final boss.
Right.
And it's even funnier seeing that person wield nunchucks. It's so fucking stupid. And the whole thing, it's kind of funny because the final villain is a worthy adversary to Black Dynamite, right? Because he's holding his own. He's also wielding nunchucks. They're trading blows. Black Dynamite, he obviously gets the upper hand at the end, but it's
There is a Deus Ex Machina moment.
Oh, which one?
In the ending. Which is something that comes out of nowhere to help save the protagonist or defeat the villain. Yeah,
Right.
I'm not going to mention what it is,
Right.
but
I think I know what you're talking about, though.
there's a little bit of foreshadowing for it, but I'm not crazy about that stuff. But it's fine because it's used as comedy in this movie.
Right. I like But that kind of just leads us to the end. The villain doesn't like he gets his comeuppance, I guess, the way that you describe it in the context of this movie. But then Black Dynamite is kind of walking into the sunset, and he gets two women. With two women like bowing at his feet, essentially. They're just like, oh, you're so righteous.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And he kind of gives the monologue while looking off camera, looking very stoically, very heroic, pulling out, these big fucking revolvers.
So he takes out one revolver and he has nunchucks in the other one.
Oh,
which I think,
right.
Even though this is a parody, I think that's such a badass
Oh,
image.
no, it's a really great cinematic shot.
Yeah. I just love it because like the female lead comes in out of nowhere.
Oh yeah,
into the shot. He's like
intentionally out of nowhere. Yes.
You're like, where the fuck did she come from?
Right. With another woman who was in the scene,
Yeah.
kind of confused as what she's supposed to do, which is kind of funny too.
Yeah. Again, not to spoil it or anything, but that's basically how the movie ends, and we get our title crawl, and you see like they put a lot of heart and soul into the animation as well for the.
Oh yeah, it's in the style of the like the Hanna-Barbera cartoons, kind of Scooby-Doo-ish. And whatnot.
Oh, that's a good way to describe it. I didn't even think of it like that. But that's the movie. Trying again not to spoil it because I think it's a huge recommend for me at least, and I would be a disservice to anyone listening who hasn't seen it. Yeah, so that's it.
Yeah, that's actually that's pretty much the whole movie.
Right. It kind of throws a wrench into our normal format of let's talk about a bunch of action in this action-ridden film.
Yeah.
And
there are a decent amount of fight scenes in this movie, but I don't think we could really talk about it in the sense that we usually do, where we try to break things down, and try to really look at the choreography, because I don't think they were trying to, they weren't trying to reinvent the wheel. They were paying homage to the choreography at the time, and they were trying to make it look authentic.
Yeah. That's a good way to describe it. Yeah, like that sums up everything I was gonna say essentially. But I think the comedy is what sells it for me. Like obviously the action, because we're an action podcast, is what we should be focusing on. But for me, this is still a martial arts movie. It's very much far removed from what we normally talk about, but it still straddles the line, but far enough from the actual line that I think like we can definitely discuss it and be like, this is an important martial arts movie that people need to watch. But probably more for comedy than the action.
I was gonna say, for me, this is more of a comedy that has martial arts in it.
Okay.
But it's fine. We can talk about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So Zero, what is your? I'm sure. What do you think about the movie? Like, would
Yeah,
you recommend?
I enjoyed it. I had, and I mentioned it earlier, I had a bunch of problems with some of the pacing and some of the plot structure in that, hey, next scene, introduce new characters. Next scene, I didn't like that at all. It took it out of me a little bit. I wish characters were introduced a little more organically, but that's okay. Because the movie is, yes, it's very, very funny.
Right.
Skip the pimp scene, like if you want, like when you'll see it when it comes on, you could fast forward through it. Doesn't really do anything for you. Yeah, this is hard to recommend for the action because it's more parody than anything. So I would say don't watch the fights on YouTube because they're not there to be flashy in any sort of way.
Right. Okay.
But yeah, as a comedy, I recommend it. I will say there was one moment that I feel pulled it out of the whole 70s feel.
Which one?
And kind of have to spoil a little bit. Actually,
don't listen if you don't want to know.
Right.
But
okay, actually, I know how to get around it. There's a moment where a character is set on fire.
Oh,
and
right.
unfortunately,
Yeah.
it is CGI fire.
Yeah.
I wish they went the route with the pyrotechnics, really setting a person on fire.
Yeah.
Because it's pretty obvious. Like that would be probably the only moment in the movie where it kind of breaks it for me because
Right.
it's very digital at that point.
Right. No, that's very true. Like I thought that the last time too. But I guess with the $2.9 million budget, they didn't have enough money left for insurance.
Right. It's forgivable in that aspect, but I kind of wish they could have went the extra mile and had man on fire.
Right.
It would have been perfect.
Yeah. Whatever usage of prosthetics that they actually did have in the movie, I thought it's bad enough that that it's not real, but good enough that you can accept that it happened in the realm of the movie.
Yeah.
Right?
If it was a dummy, I probably would have been fine with that because it probably would have added to the comedic side of everything.
Yeah.
But yeah, that would be the only moment that took it out of me in terms of being like a 70s blaxploitation film.
Okay. Yeah. No, I completely agree. I think that everything you said was valid. I'm basically on the same exact side of the fence with you. Yeah, no, like every time I watch this movie, it gets funnier to me. Like I appreciate something more about it every time, with every subsequent viewing of it. And I don't really have that much to add to it besides what you just said. I will say I haven't seen Outlaw Johnny Black yet. That's the supposed what's the phrase that they call it? The spiritual successor or sequel to it. There's not much information about it.
That's recent, right?
Yeah,
that's pretty recent. I think isn't there still a Kickstarter for it or something like that?
Yeah, well, and I think that came out actually.
Oh, did it really?
It actually did come out, but no, it's really hard to find. I would love to support it, but I just don't know much about it. But yeah, like I not to put that movie down, but I would have loved this Black Dynamite too.
Yeah,
I think that would.
Well, we got the cartoon series, and based on what you see in this movie, it is very easy to make the jump from this live action kind of parody to a cartoon because they do. The movie does feel kind of like a cartoon at times.
Yeah.
So I was perfectly fine with it going to an animated series, and I love some of those episodes, like the Michael Jackson episodes, and what they do, how they write that episode is really really fun.
My favorite is the one with Richard Pryor and Michael. Black Dynamite doesn't like Richard Pryor on the basis that he doesn't laugh. He doesn't like comedy. I think that sums up Black Dynamite's character as a whole. Yeah, I would love this. I would love to just recommend this movie as a whole. But again, let's talk about this as a action movie podcast. You're right. I wouldn't recommend it just solely on the action. But if you are interested in any ways the history of film at all, and if you're interested in any semblance for blaxploitation movies, then I think this is such a great send off for it. For me, it's like I think that this is does a much better homage to blaxploitation, like kung fu blaxploitation, than it does like Kung Pao does for kung fu movies. You know, like you know what I mean. Like that's also considered a parody kung fu movie, but that movie is fucking dog shit.
Right. Okay. I see what you mean. So Kung Pao is, I can't really attest because I haven't seen it.
Oh,
I think I understand that like Kung Pao is a parody that is trying to cash in maybe on a genre.
Right.
Where I think that Black Dynamite is a love letter to the genre.
That's a really good way to describe it. Love letter. Kung Pao is more like just straight up mocking the genre, whereas Black Dynamite is like a love letter, like you said before. Kung Pao doesn't really. I don't feel like it understands the source material. I feel like they're just trying so hard to just
I think they're taking the famous things and they're parodying it.
Yeah.
So it's a literal sense of the word parody.
Right. And it does it so cheaply, not in the sense that like low budget cheaply, but like they take low shots, like really, like they're just taking like pot shots at a genre where like the only limitations were the budget, whereas Black Dynamite is like it's taking shots at it because it's low budget, but this movie's also low budget, and we're gonna use the same format, our same constraints, and try to make it a decent send off to the genre, and and still do it in a loving way.
Yeah.
So that's why I fucking love this movie. It does it so well. But like I said before, it's not action ridden in terms of like martial arts choreography, and I wouldn't recommend it either on YouTube. But I would say you need to watch this movie because it's one of the funniest fucking things I've ever seen. It's high on my list. But yeah. That's my recommendation, and that's why I geeked out so hard on this episode.
Yeah. Okay.
God damn it. God damn it.
What?
Good contribution to the
Yes,
discussion.
yes.